Welcome to Wrinkles Society of Hope. If this is your first time, welcome. And if you are returning, thank you so much for continuing to support and follow Wrinkles Society of Hope. Today, you are going to hear an amazing woman tell her stories of the wrinkles that she had pressed through in life in order to become the dynamic woman that she is today. So, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. You can follow us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify as well. And don't forget, hit that notification bell so that you can listen in on the new interviews as they come. And guess what? I would love to do an interview with you. So hit me up so we can share our motivational stories to encourage these other women. Thank you so much for coming today. Hello, Wrinkles family. Happy New Year. Happy 2025. I'm so excited to start the new year off like this because this is one of my way back when, I don't like to say old friends.
You can say it.
But older friends. But I mean, it's just a blessing to say that I've been knowing this person almost 30 years. It's amazing that we became pen pals after Girls State in 1995.
Back before social media was a thing.
Yeah, before social media, we actually used a pen and paper to stay in touch. Mm-hmm. And she was just my best friend at Girls State. It was the most beautiful experience. So I'm going to have her introduce herself to the Wrinkles family.
Well, hi, everyone. I'm Corrie Harris, a long-time dear friend, seasoned, I think is what we should call it, of Summers. I lived in Arizona, and we both were in Arizona at the time, and happened to meet through a chance week-long experience that we were invited to at Girls State. And like you've said, the U.S. Postal Service really made some money off of us back in the day before social media came around.
Right. Wasn't that fun? Actually, I mean, I think about that now. I remember the excitement of getting your letters in the mail, seeing you come across the envelope. I think more kids need to do that.
I know. I agree. 100%.
It was something magical. And again, now when social media did come, though, I was able to reconnect and stay connected. Feel like I was still there with you, following along, seeing your kids grow up and things like that. So,
and same with you. Watched you get married and
right. So we've been through it all, but through it all, you still have a smooth face from 95.
Oh, girl, please.
Kind of, but we still look good. So
we do look good. I'm okay. I'm okay with the wrinkles. I'm okay with the set girl. No Botox. There's no need for that. Exactly.
How did you feel though when you first noticed something aging, maybe a small wrinkle or a gray hair? How did you feel about that?
Well, this has been going on almost 4 years of silver growth, but I am willing to say that I have not spent a dime on stuff for my face, but I have spent probably thousands of dollars on my hair covering up the gray. And literally it would be like once a month faithfully and hours in foils. It was ridiculous. And finally at one point I was just like, you know what, I'm doing this. And like 2 weeks later, the roots are already back and I'm done. And so I'm okay with my weight. I'm okay with what sags and what doesn't. And I'm okay with what's wrinkly and what's not. And I'm okay with what's gray and what's not. I'm not okay with the boob hairs I have to pluck on the regular now, though. I have to tell you, that's one thing I could do without. I could do without the boob hair.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Other than that, I'm good.
Well, I'm glad that you embraced everything else. Some women haven't. And it's those things that, it's funny. I never thought in our 40s we'll be saying like, ooh, my hip hurt a little bit today.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, girl, I was flipping my hair over to curl it earlier and my back, I was like, ooh. And ever since then, I've been like hobbling around the house and my kids were like, what's wrong with you? Like, I don't know. I was doing my hair. Like, I don't know.
I know. My dad, when I was little, he used to have me walk on his back, and I used to think,
Yes. Yes. Yeah. We have it's called a chirp wheel.
oh,
It's this big, like really heavy duty plastic wheel that you can roll, like you put against the floor and you roll it. Girl, I've already used that once today. Oh gosh, I can, yeah,
oh, I need to
that was
invest in
real.
that. I need to invest in that because my
Yes.
kids walk on my
Yeah.
back now. I'm like, walk on
Yeah.
my back. I'm like, I can't believe I'm saying that. What is wrong?
Yeah. We've got one of those things like the Theraguns that like vibrates
Oh
against
yeah,
your,
we got that too.
I can't use that because my kidneys are like, no, no thanks. No, you will not.
Oh my gosh. Well, 30 years later, I never thought we'll be laughing about this stuff because I'm thinking I still feel like I'm young when I wake up sometime.
I'm glad you do, because girl, I ain't feeling it.
Well, we definitely have to accept, life is coming, life has passed us by, but during life we had to press through some things. And you recently shared something that we weren't aware of that you had to press through
Yeah.
actually a little bit before I met you.
Yes. Yeah.
Are you okay to share that?
Absolutely. Um, yes. So I recently had brought back to my conscious memory something that happened to me in the summer of 1994, which was approximately a year before you and I met. Um, I have known for the last 30 years that I experienced a lot of mental health issues that summer. I became anorexic. It was the first time that I had attempted suicide. And I had always, my mind had always led me to believe that it was because of an issue completely unrelated to what it actually was. And it was the end of October that, and I firmly believe the Holy Spirit brought it into my memory for the first time. Um, when I reflected on that time, and the Holy Spirit said it was not because of what you think it was because of. And then for the first time, clearly brought the memory that I was date raped by two individuals. I just turned 16. I've been living in Arizona for about a year. My family had moved us back to Arizona. We had moved around quite a bit when I was a kid. I was very naive, very trusting. Knew both of the individuals, had briefly dated one for a couple months earlier that year, and was currently dating the second one. And went to a co-ed, like end of school party slash sleepover. At a friend's horse corral east of me in rural Arizona. And went with my boyfriend, who I can't mention his name because of the potential libel suit. So I've been warned that I can't refer to them as their actual names or even by their initials, but I refer to him as Pert number one. Was supposed to spend the night in the horse corral of my friend's property, parents' property, in a tent with him and sharing a sleeping bag. I did not have any intention to have any sexual relations with them. I was a virgin. Like I said, very naive. Believed in saving sex for marriage. I don't remember a whole lot about that night, which is strange because I have a near photographic memory. I did remember vaguely being given a couple of beers, probably in cans that night by the other person with whom I had previously dated, part number two. And I don't remember a whole lot after that. I remember I remember going to the tent and sleeping in the sleeping bag, going to bed first, basically. And then perp number one joining me later, didn't remember a whole lot about that. But now distinctly remember being raped, and then subsequently being raped by perp number 2. So my body, my mind blocked that from my conscious memory for the next 30 years until a couple of months ago. And for good reason. I would have, I've spent the last 30 years up until recently internalizing anything that's done to me as if it were to be my fault. So I've been in 2 abusive marriages. I'm been the victim of physical abuse and essentially sexual abuse, emotional abuse, manipulation, you name it, I've been through it. Been through counseling, have a long history of mental health issues, but finally turned the corner a few months ago when I realized not all of this has been my fault. And I didn't have to take on all of that. And so it was at that moment that I believe the Holy Spirit was like, okay, now she's ready. Because if I had taken this on even 6 months ago, I would have made it my fault and internalized it and self-destructed. This is not my fault. And I, rather than turning it inside, very quickly, and I say this, I've never been so angry in my entire life. The rage that I felt from having been violated. The problem with that is that number one, because I didn't know, I continued having relationships with both of these men, even to the point where perp number 2, I later dated for over a year and a half. That was who I thought I lost my virginity to, was this individual, and was at one point engaged to be married to him. Perp number 1 remained in my life until 2020, and even was allowed in my children's lives, and has met them and referred to my children, referred to him as basically their uncle. So there was a lot of there's a lot of looking back and going, oh my gosh, what did I allow these 2 monsters to do for 30 years? The second part being that now that 30 years has gone by, it is too late for me to get any justice for myself. I did make the decision to file a police report in the county in Arizona in which it happened, and did so about a week before I came to Arizona for the Thanksgiving holiday to see my family, because I wanted to do that for myself. I thought that I owed it to myself to at least have it be put in writing and have it go on record. Unfortunately, because there is, of course, no physical evidence after 3 decades, and both of the perpetrators, when interviewed, of course, denied, and law enforcement couldn't help but observe how remarkably similar their stories sounded. I was like, well, yeah, they've had 30 years to perfect it. So it's too late for me in terms of criminal justice, but I am number 1 going through therapy, because Lord knows I need it, specifically to heal from this. And then number 2, I am getting my story out, again, not using their names or any, well, not necessarily any personally identifiable information about them, but anything that could be found on public record. I am sharing my story on social media in the hopes that other girls, other women, other victims, other potential victims. I have 2 children, 2 daughters of my own. Will not face the same fate that I had to experience. So, yeah, that's basically it in a nutshell.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. and being brave enough to share on social media and every platform, because as you said, you have girls and I have nieces. There are women out here that one have been afraid to come forward themselves.
Yep.
What advice would you give those women, or just the young girls that are out here around individuals being young and dating, are not knowing some of the young men that they're around? What advice would you give?
I thought as a 16-year-old at the time that it was perfectly acceptable for me to have clearly stated the expectation that I didn't want to have sex, but that it would be reasonable for me to spend the night with a 16-year-old boy in a tent and that nothing would happen. Not to say that there may have been instances in life where that wouldn't have happened, but the likelihood of something happening is great. And I've had to learn the hard way. It's better to avoid those situations altogether than to expect one thing and get another. I know a lot of that has to do with self-worth as well. That, women feel pressured to do things or to become involved in situations they don't want to. There's no right or wrong answer. There's no good answer for that other than to say you are worth not having to stick around and do whatever it is that you don't want to do. You don't have to do it.
What would you say to those women that have been through this and they're silent right now? What would you say to them?
I actually, I've had the opportunity to say something already. Perp number one, was accused of strangulation of another female in 2016. Approximately 3 months before the last time I saw him with my own children. I know that through some sources that I've talked to. She ended up dropping the charges after 2 years of being tormented by him. And so I was given her contact information and reached out to her over social media and said, I'm really sorry to intrude. I'm not trying to. I'm a rape victim of someone that you accused of strangulation. I would really like your help in bringing some justice. And she responded back and said, absolutely not. I want nothing to do with him. I'm sorry. I'm sorry about what happened to you, but I just want to be left alone. And I get that. And I understand that. I'm in this for the long game. I'm in helping women recognize that in some ways it may be too late. In some ways they may not want to. But when you get a bunch of women together that are in that same position, eventually they're all going to start to look at each other and go, wait, there's a lot of us and one of him. So let's get together and actually empower ourselves and do something about that. So I don't hope to get any justice for myself, but I know without a shadow of a doubt that there are other women out there that he has hurt that are too afraid to come forward. And that there's other women, in general, that are too afraid to come forward against their attackers. Or that, remembered for the first time in 30 years and think that they have no voice. They do have a voice. It may not be in the criminal justice system, but they still have a voice.
And I'm glad that you said you're getting the counseling, because that had to be overwhelming to remember something from 30 years ago that was so trauma.
Yes.
How is counseling helping you cope with that?
It's helping me understand that it's okay for me to feel rage, and to feel the way that I do. I have I call them good days, good rage days and bad rage days. On the bad rage days, I just feel blind with rage and I have to figure out some way to channel that. Without hurting myself or others, of course. And Whether that be, doing a cardio workout or, hitting the crap out of something, just to be able to put that into the right context. The Bible says, in your anger, do not sin. So you can be angry, just, don't harm yourself or others in the process. So that's helped quite a bit. Living life with those memories at the forefront of my mind now is extraordinarily difficult. But I'm no longer pretending as if nothing's wrong. I'm okay with acknowledging, hey, I'm not having a really good day. Rather than putting on the mask and saying, everything's fine, it's okay. And giving myself permission to do that.
You said something powerful, because definitely how many of women are walking around here putting these masks on,
Mm-hmm.
Not allowing themselves to not be okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I heard something recently that said, we almost lost you in the silence. Now you're healing loudly. And that resonated with me a lot. My brain had been silent for so long. And now that it's not, everybody's going to hear me heal. I'm going to be loud and upfront and in people's face about it. Like, I don't even care. That's what you see is what you get. And it's a shit show, but here we are. So yeah. But yeah, you don't have to be silent. You really don't. There is healing for everyone. It looks different for everyone, but there is healing for everyone.
And it takes time to heal, and everybody heals differently.
Yep. Absolutely.
The thing is, and that's something that you were speaking about, is you didn't even realize your past was affecting all the life decisions and things
Yes.
that you were going through.
Yes. Once I was able to start putting the pieces together, so much, like I've even been keeping a journal of all the different dots that I've been able to connect since then. And there's still more being brought to my mind. I had a hysterectomy in 2022. And someone had said to me when she had her hysterectomy shortly after mine, and she said, I didn't realize how much trauma I had stored in my uterus until it was gone. And something about that just stuck with me. And now I realize why. The amount of trauma that I had stored in my uterus was, I didn't even know it was there. But it was there, and it took it being gone to realize, how much pain that I had been through as a result of what was done to me.
It had to have been so heavy. Does it feel like some layers are coming off to make life a little bit lighter?
It does. And it also makes me, I've always been a very, not passive person, but just agreeable person, to keep the peace. And I'm discovering now what my voice sounds like. And sometimes it can be a little, it can be a little bossy. Sometimes it can be a little snippy. But my husband has, basically given me his full support of saying, look, I know that this is the first time that you're learning how to be you and how to speak up for yourself. So if that doesn't, if that comes out as snarky, as long as you realize that, then, that's fair. But he's like, you're not going to get it right. And that's realizing that is being a perfectionist. I'm not going to get everything right in this healing journey, and that's okay. It's not meant to do perfectly. It's just meant to do.
Right. That's so, and your husband the support sounds so amazing.
He is, and he's, he has, that's its own story in itself. That that was an abusive marriage for the first 16 years of our marriage. We've been married 20 years now. And it took me basically standing up for myself, ironically, to both him and perp number one at the same time, back in 2020. When I told perp number one, I don't want to have anything to do with you anymore. And when I told my husband that I was done being a doormat. I and we have come together, or come a long way since then. So yeah.
That's great. And I hear faith. I hear a lot of faith. You speaking
Yes.
faith. Is that also another tool?
Absolutely. And that's, ultimately, I know God has the ultimate justice. I I've struggled for a long time trying to understand why bad things happen to good people. And I'm starting to understand now that if that bad thing hadn't happened to me, then I may not be able to help another person that could happen to, or has happened to. And so I know that God has a purpose for everything. It doesn't make it any easier, but it does give me hope that some good will come out of this, because I know that eventually it will.
I know it will. I have no doubt in my mind that it will. It will bless so many people. And I said to you in our message, we were messaging back and forth, that, when I met you, you were a ray of sunshine. We automatically connected. I just felt like you were my best friend right away in that first week, and we continued on, with our corresponding. And like I said, even when I found you on social media, I felt like we picked up right from Girls State.
Yeah.
And even just for us connecting, for you to be here now, I know that, not knowing back then, and you not even knowing back then, that when we met, you had went through something so horrific, but you still was blessing so many people around you. Everyone loved you. You were a ray of sunshine for everybody. We all just, collapsed to you because of the person you are.
Yeah.
And you always, over the years on social media, I was like, she's so strong, she's so beautiful, so amazing, So your voice has always been powerful. You just didn't know exactly how much of your voice is going to help so many people.
Yeah.
And that's what it's here for. It is here to help. There's so many women that have been through things, especially going through this, or have been through this, that are silent.
Yeah.
And I'm
and that's, I've got, like I said, I have two girls. One is 18 and one is 13. And I also have two boys. One is 15 and one is 5. And the 15-year-old is going to be 16 next month. So he'll be the same age that I was when I was raped, and the same age as my rapist. And that's, my kids know, the 18, 15, and 13-year-olds know what happened to me. And they remember perp number one, because I explained that that's who one of them was. And they know that they have a mom who is going to point out manipulation from partners when she sees it. The 18-year-old recently dealt with a breakup in which, he threatened to kill himself if she broke up with him. And I said, I understand that your heart goes out to him, but that is not your job. That is not your job to save him. You are not on the hook for his life, and nor should you be. So, teaching my kids to recognize toxic behavior for what it is. And teaching my son, my 15-year-old, no means no. Implied consent is not consent. Ask for it. If you don't get it, move on.
More parents need to have those real talk with kids. They get social media, they have their friends at school. It's not like when we were growing up.
Yeah.
And life is real out here, and kids need to hear the real truth. They really do.
Yep. This is not the world that we grew up in. It is totally different. And I mean, thank God we didn't have social media when, you and I were, sweet Jesus. You know just as well as I do, I can't dance. And I am glad that nobody has anything from my early 20s.
A little bit
Yeah.
of TikToks.
Facebook wasn't around until I was sober and with the Lord. So yeah, we're just going to leave it at that.
Well, now that you have pressed through and actually you're currently pressing through what you're going through. And let's say you got a t-shirt made today. What would that t-shirt say about the person that you're pressing through right now?
It's funny you say that because I just made a few t-shirts the other day. And I think I'm learning to identify myself as not what I was, but who I am now. And so it says I'm a little Proverbs 31 and a lot more Judges 4:5. And if you know anything about, which I'm sure you do because you're today's pastor, Judges 4:5 and the story of Jael, and how she lured an enemy or a man from the enemy camp into her tent, and then proceeded to hammer a tent peg into the side of his head and killed him, and caused her people to win the war, or win that battle at least. And then of course Proverbs 31 is the woman that gets riches from afar and weaves perfectly. I can't sew a button for crap, so let's be real. There's a little bit of Proverbs 31,
Right.
but girl, if you need a tent peg and a hammer, I'll help a girl out.
You're ready for war.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes we could be in the army of the Lord.
Yes,
We do. We do.
that's the best military we can serve.
Right. I'm so proud of you.
I'm proud of you. You are a queen. Let me just say that. I want it to be on record that you were a queen.
Oh,
Yeah.
you are too. From the day I met you, you have been a blessing to my life. Really.
As have you. God put us in each other's lives for a reason.
He did. And I never wanted to disconnect from you. I always was looking for you. And I was so happy every time we would connect or just even like a comment or heart a comment,
In our busy lives.
Right. With our kids and everything. It's just been a blessing. And we are here. Anything you need. And also, are you available for people if they want to come to your Facebook and just follow you? Is that
absolutely? Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Well,
I'm not much for friending people right now. Unfortunately, I'm fine with communicating with them over private messenger.
Okay.
I discovered very quickly who could remain in my life and who couldn't after making the announcement about this having happened. And so I've had to tighten my circle quite a bit, unfortunately. So I'm perfectly willing to communicate with people over private messenger. That's something I'm perfectly willing to do. I've just got to keep my circle safe right now.
Oh, I agree. And you know what? That's the thing about who really standing for you.
Yeah.
When you actually go through something real.
Yep. And I knew, and God revealed that to me early on, who, that there would be people that would be safe and there would be people that would not be. Mm-hmm. And I learned very, very quickly, within 24 hours, in fact, of who was in that camp and who was not. And I'm grateful to God for that. So.
I get it. Yeah. I get it. Well, thank you so much for coming and share with Wrinkles today.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Of course, sister. We always
and stay strong, ladies.
Yes, stay strong. And the biggest thing you did, knowing your self-worth.
Yes. Yes. That is not determined by a man.
It's not. It's not.
You don't need no stinking man. No, you do, but not like that.
No. And just standing up for you, and all you are queens, and knowing that you are.
Yes.
We settle, we do, and take care of yourself. We just
Yes.
talked about that. Self-care is worth, you have to take care of yourself.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank
Absolutely.
you for coming.
All right. I love you, girl.
Girls.